All right, Lagos, we're back with the Morning Crossfire Dailies today, part 2, Radio 99.3 Nigerian. For my name is Kofi Bartels.
And my name is Jimi Disu. The latest news is that the death of Roberta Flack was announced. Do you know Roberta Flack? Do you know there's a famous song, Killing Me Softly?
Oh, yeah.
And
the original.
And I will take dance blues in those days.
People think Killing Me Softly was a new song by
no.
Lauryn Hill.
Hill call. Valini. It was Roberta Flack. She died at the age, I think, of 80 something.
Oh, wow.
May her soul rest in.
Yeah, she was black.
A lot of people in my generation will remember that was the blues song in those days. When you put the record, say, "Excuse me, dance." That's the story for another day.
And people think it was Lauryn Hill.
And we want to Hill or Valley. I said Roberta Flack, Killing Me Softly. Yes.
You know, that's a generation. Even some people think that I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston, it wasn't her original song.
I don't know, but I'm talking of Killing Me Softly. When I was going on, how would you say you don't know Killing Me Softly? You will be what we call an O2.
I'll play the song before we go.
Don't play the song, though.
Before we go.
No, not in this. Too many hot stories.
Too many hot stories, right? Okay, let's know what I down. Good morning to you, sir. Let's start with a look at some stories. This particular one on the front page of today's Vanguard. Lagos Assembly crisis. Why Miranda may step down as speaker. Setonji, I hope I got that right. Rauf may emerge.
Yeah. Well, I heard this as at last night. It was a weekend of meetings. When it appeared that the GAC, who are supposed to have supervised all the wrangling in the assembly, when they couldn't make a headway, it took Chief Oshoba, Chief Akonde, and I think a few other people to step in. There were meetings going on. And finally, as at yesterday, 8 p.m., I got the news that Miranda has been told to step down. I don't know whether she has agreed, but she's been told to step down. And it appears as if either Honorable Setonji or Rauf may emerge the new speaker. Now, on the what would appear to be the logical front, all of you know that I don't want to go back into the politics of how we got here. On what would appear to be on the logical front, the argument was that the speaker and the governor cannot come from the same zone. Okay, I think that was the instruction that was passed down by a man who himself had a Muslim ticket to run a national election. The painful thing, the painful thing about all this is that it appears that in Lagos APC, ultimately you have to do the bidding of the leader. And that is not going to help our democracy, because the argument of coming from the same zone, what was even worse at the national level was a Muslim ticket. And since this was it came from circumstance, they should have let it be, because that was what the assembly themselves wanted. And from the kind of support that Miranda got, both from the workers and they also got from the members of the assembly, and indeed the public, and indeed the women, and indeed the indigents, it is sad that we have not let democracy prevail. As a Lagosian, it is also sad that we can't handle our own affairs. As a Lagosian, that bit is a bit sensitive. That the GAC set up couldn't handle, and handling it really would have been to advise the leader to say, leader, this is what the people want, let it be. Even if that allowed all this so-called imbalance could have been corrected at the time when you want to appoint a governor. And like I said, that argument doesn't hold water in a party that at the national level presented the Muslim ticket with the sensibilities. Anyway, we are being told that she's been asked to return to her position as a deputy speaker, and two lawmakers from Lagos West, Setonji David, representing Badagry, and Wale Rauf, representing Amuwo Odofin, will become the new speaker. So that was the argument that was given. For those of us who are watching from the outside and have more than a passing interest, we have lost something. That independence that is quite prevalent in democracy. We have lost it. And as far as I'm concerned, Lagos is still under some kind of dictatorship. And I don't know when, for God's sake, we will be set free from all this.
All right. Adebanjo set for burial May 3.
Yes, Pa Adebanjo is going to be buried on the 3rd of May. Okay. It says that Mrs. Adeola Aziz says that we are considering May, but the family will meet and decide on a date. And the date has now been put at Saturday, May 3. So there'll be service of songs and tributes and whatever. A wake is scheduled for May 2 at his country home in Isonya Ogbo. Let me leave that one. But on Wednesday, April 30, there will be a day of tributes and songs at Harbour Point, Lagos.
So rest in peace. All right. Moving to the editorial of today's The Punch on page 16. Restoring sanity to Lagos Assembly. Still on that story.
Yes, that headline should have been restoring sanity to Lagos. After all the years fighting for democracy, we are still under some kind of dictatorship. You know? Listen to what the Punch says here. The Lagos political scene is unraveling in an unpalatable way. The state may fail both as a bastion of democracy and as a center of excellence if the political class fails to put its house in order. Nigerians are wary of a DSS buoyed by politics instead of the overarching duty of providing preemptive intelligence to fight terrorism and insecurity. That's the role of the DSS in the assembly there. In all these shenanigans, the citizens are the losers. Residents expect amended and newly proposed laws that would improve the delivery of governance and social services. They await a responsive and responsible legislator whose developmental visions are aligned with the aspirations of the constituents through robust town and hall engagements and passage of equitable laws. The current climate of harmony in the assembly is unpalatable for lawmaking. Unfortunately, the imbroglio over the speaker's seat is an indication that the scramble for perks and power supersedes the values of checks and balances, separations of powers, and representation. Okay? So they mentioned one or two things about Obasa, but I forgot to mention, he would withdraw, he's been asked to withdraw his suit. So I think he's virtually out of the way. Okay? But in concluding, the point says, urgently the crucial work of policy making should not be stalled or impeded by the politically inclined raucous. While the rule of law should be allowed to take precedence over primordial sentiments, the political stakeholders, including Tinubu and the APC, should intervene within the legal ambit to find an amicable resolution to the crisis. Like I said, Lagos is still under a very, very strong hold that some of us don't find palatable. It's nothing against anybody personally. But what is democracy if there's no freedom of choice? What is democracy if there's no freedom of choice? The first ingredient in democracy is freedom of choice. If you have an assembly, they should be left alone to decide who they want their speaker to be.
So why don't they go ahead and decide? Why can't they stand man up?
Why can't they man up? If a man cannot man up, it's a deficiency of character, lack of principle. You must be able to man up to certain things. I wanted to call you Sheriff because of name now, Kofi. You must, as a human being, you must be. A lot of people have disappointed us in this thing, but I'm not into name calling. But they know themselves.
So sir,
as they're listening to me now, some of our elders know themselves that they have failed their own people.
Our politics is full of cowardice.
A lot. And that's because politics in Nigeria is of self-interest.
Serious cowardice.
That people cannot. I can imagine myself being a member of a GSC or whatever. I will say, what are we having the meeting for? That's the person that these people want.
So how do we get here? From the days where the National Assembly stood its ground against Olusegun Obasanjo.
Which National Assembly stood its ground against Olusegun Obasanjo?
You've forgotten about...
We've never... Look, let me tell you...
Gali Umanaraba.
We've never really had...
Okadibo.
Because those were the early days.
That's what I'm saying.
Those were the early days.
Okadibo and Co.
But now... Okadibo, yes. But what happened to Okadibo? Where did he end?
But at least they attempted.
It's still not part of our culture. When you hear the people that make up these various bodies, you begin to wonder, where has courage gone? Where has principle gone? It's very disappointing. Look at the list of the people who are in these various bodies and are supposed to superintend what is going on. You can't walk up to a man and tell him that, Oga, this one, take your hands off it. Because at the end of the day, all this balancing act is not that prevalent in Lagos, just as they have now shown that a Muslim ticket can also work. So what are we talking about?
So it seems to be sliding slowly into some sort of lack of independence for the different arms of government.
I disagree with you.
Because
we're not. Let me finish now. Yeah. We are not sliding slowly and slowly. We are in it.
No, I'm saying from 99 at least.
Yes, okay, you go all the way back, but we are in it. We are in a deep mess.
Because I remember the days when the Nationals, at least maybe a House of Reps or Senate at one time, took the president on. Had disagreements.
Well, this current assembly is not taking anybody on, but let's go on.
All right. Today is Tuesday, an opportunity to look at the health stories from The Punch.
Please, Tuesdays, don't miss this program because of the health, this health page. Sheriff and I designed it that we will use it to help and educate our people. It's the least we can contribute to the issues of health. Okay, outages. There is no functional MRI in public hospitals, says resident doctors. The president of the Association of Resident Doctors, Dr. Tope Oshundara, has lamented the absence of a reliable power supply. That the absence of a reliable power supply has rendered most MRI machines in public hospitals useless, forcing patients to seek medical attention in private facilities. That is mind-boggling. Public hospitals, Lasso, Luth, General Hospital, and so on. According to him, no functional MRI in public hospitals. Yet, people are spending valuable time settling quarrels, making deals, in the midst of all that was going on. Of course, a lot of money is going to be exchanging hands, but that's a story for another day. Another one here: GMD faults Lagos parking fee on private hospitals. The Guild of Medical Directors has condemned the inclusion of private hospitals in the payment of parking fees for spaces in front of their premises by the Lagos State Parking Authority and urged the government to revoke and stop the charges. So government imposes charges in some private hospitals where you're supposed to park. They put up parking fees. And this gentleman, the Guild of Medical Directors, saying no. And I agree, you could come for emergency, you understand. But he doesn't know that to go into government hospitals, if you spend more than an hour, you're going to pay gate fee, you're going to pay parking fees.
Really?
Yes, sir. In Luth, you pay parking in what's it called? I said last week.
You pay parking?
You pay parking fees.
My God, really?
If you spend more than an hour. Another story here: experts push for data-driven approaches on maternal mortality, and the Medical Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria has inducted 45 medical laboratory students from UNILAG. Remember, hospitals are not made up of doctors and nurses. This medical laboratory, they actually are the fulcrum of medical practice because they help in diagnosis. If you get it wrong from the lab, you're a dead dog. So it's glad to hear that they graduated from UNILAG, and they have 45 of them. Now this one, this is from this story is from a consultant urologist, Gabriel Oga, And this is to the men, and it says that the size of your instrument will not affect your sexual performance and fertility.
Instrument. What?
You want me
microscope, telescope?
Do you want me to read what?
My instrument is my microphone. That's my instrument. I use every day.
I leave the rest to your imagination.
All right, no problem.
But the doctor says, don't worry. Don't go for any extension or whatever. That it has nothing to do with how you go about that normal business or fertility.
Please, I don't know why people are going for extension. Extension what? Anyway.
It's one of the scams that you have. The enlarger and all these kind of things.
Anyway. Let's leave it at that. I wonder how the energy. Anyway, back to the Vanguard. Vanguard has the following stories. This is on page 5. Tax evasion, NLC, TUC, NECA, tackle Akpabio over comments. Only 30% of Nigerians pay tax, yet want the best from government. That's what Akpabio said. Says tax reforms future of Nigeria. People evade tax where government is unaccountable. NLC, she replied. Name Nigerians evading tax payment. TUC challenges Akpabio. Blame government for evasion of tax payment. NECA. Give me workable laws from tax reform bills. Tinubu tells Senate. All right, sir.
As usual, the Senate president put his foot in it again yesterday. And the insensitivity of our Senate president is no longer mind-boggling. It appears to be accepted. If he's not taking on the female gender, he's saying something to the masses. And, the NLC, TUC, NECA, all took exception, including I, took exception to what the Excellency, the Most Honorable, said yesterday, that there's a poor culture of tax payment, and he went on to say that more than 30%, not more than 30% of Nigerians pay tax to the comfort of the federal government, but that they want the best to be provided, as if the government is a stranger to us. Do you understand? It's right by government in the areas of infrastructure, education, security. How am I supposed to pay tax when I hear a story this morning, for example, that talks about no MRI, functional MRI in government hospitals? How am I supposed to pay tax when I know that it's borehole water I used to have my bath this morning and I had to go and buy bottled water? Why am I supposed to pay tax when people in his assembly are spending so much money, 100 and something million naira, to buy vehicles for themselves? He just put his foot in it. And the insensitivity that he exhibits, also in the case of, I read somewhere where I think it was his chief press secretary or whatever, made a very derogatory statement about that honorable, about the most distinguished, the lady,
Natasha.
I saw the statement. I can't comment on it because I want to check out the authenticity of that statement. Somebody needs to call Senator Akpabio in and if he's not giggling unduly, he's making the most expensive jokes at the emotions of our people. What kind of insensitivity is that? And so the NLC took him on, the TUC took him on, NECA took him on, and indeed the media, we are going to take him on this. We will not be spoken to anyhow. We are not serfs in our country. We are not second-class citizens. This is not a country of apartheid. We are not under colonialism. You don't talk to us anyhow. When these politicians want you to vote for them, they will come and eat groundnuts, come and eat barley. They will go to the hairdresser. They do all kinds of things. The moment they get in, they become strangers to the people.
You forgot corn.
Agbado.
It's corn. I think was Fayose who ate corn, or was it the president?
Don't mind them. They become strangers to the people. And it serves us right. We will continue to have this until we all make a concerted effort to put in government those who will really and truly represent us. Because you ask, with the stories you get every day in the newspapers, who will feel like paying tax? Who will feel like paying tax? Tell me. Because if on the one hand you are hearing that there are no MRI facilities in public hospitals, you're also hearing that one former PAMSEC embezzled billion, sometimes going into trillions. Who will save us from this slavery, second slavery we have found ourselves in?
Uncle Jimmy, so are you saying people shouldn't pay tax?
How can I say people shouldn't pay tax, Kofi?
Okay.
What kind of mischievous statement is that?
Okay. but
I'm not saying people. Look, I am proud to say that, to be honest, and I don't mean this in any. When Fashola was the governor of Lagos, I was so moved not just to pay tax, but to see other ways in which I could contribute effectively, financially and otherwise, to the progress of my state, because I can see what the money was being put what use it was being put to.
So is it possible that Kwabe was stating a fact, maybe MBS or something?
There is something, Kofi, whether fact or not, there is something called sensitivity. He lacks it. If he's not publicly telling people to come and take money for Mr. Biggs and all these kind of things, he is public speaking whatever. It has to be enhanced. He can't continue throwing darts and insults at people anyhow. And in any case, how much tax do the elite themselves pay comparatively?
Okay.
Obviously, they don't pay tax on the money embezzled. And the money embezzled is sometimes 3,000% more than the legitimate earnings.
Because I'm seeing an article here. This is from PricewaterhouseCoopers. It's a very old article authored by Taiwo Oyedele when he was there. I think that's the first time I ever heard about him. Where they said that before the recent increase in corporate tax legislation, the immediate past finance minister said 75% of registered companies were not in the tax net.
I'm not talking about the fact of what he has said. I'm talking about the sensitivity and the manner in which it was said.
Okay.
That when he says that they don't pay, have they been encouraged to pay tax? Has any Nigerian really, in true conscience, can you say they've been encouraged to pay tax? What does the government do for you? In a story when on a Tuesday morning you are reading 7 o'clock in the morning that there is no functional MRI in government hospitals? What are you talking about?
So what do we do? Vote the right people in.
Let's go to the
next right. Vote the right people in.
Let's just go to the next story. Our job here is to continue to sensitize our people.
Yeah.
But it's like talking against a brick wall. Luckily, I'm paid to say this thing, so it's not a total loss. but it's true. The truth has to be told. Otherwise, there is something. I'm beginning to see that there's something wrong generally with majority of our people who don't have the kind of sensitivity that one has to these things.
Uncle Jimmy, I would say that people need to vote the right people into power, because either way they're still going to misuse the money. Sorry, I don't mean to sound insensitive.
No, I know.
All right, let's look at more. This program will not be complete without an IBB segment, and the Vanguard has a coverage of this on page 7. Why Nigeria suffered 5 military coups. IBB, military executed more development projects.
Well, the IBB story is trending. It occurred to me, really and truly, I haven't read the book. Within an hour of its launching, I already had a soft copy, and I hear the soft copy has gone viral.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was done to deny him an income, or it was done to make sure that people read it. I think that is what it was. I think it was deliberately released so that people can read what I consider the unsavory things that are being said in the book. The least of all being, you don't talk about people when they are not around to defend themselves. Amongst all other things that are being said, to now come and say it was Abacha. It would have been nice if we said it when Abacha was alive, but that's neither here nor there. At 9 o'clock, we're going to open up our mics, 9 o'clock today, so that we can have your views, what you think about the contents of the book that you have seen. We'll be talking to you, the public, from 9 to 10. That's the service we'll be offering you. You'll be able to call in and say there are very many views about IBB's book, but few justify the publication of that book. The way I look at it is that it was a fundraising enterprise, because, like I said, that 17 billion or whatever is child's play. somebody should tell me, the president should tell us how much the federal government is donating to the book. Because the federal government will donate to the book. That is certain. You know, and we know other corporate giants who owe their, like one of his beneficiaries said, who owe their existence to him. But at least let us know how much of our own money is being committed. The president can't tell us that he's not going to give. He's not going to donate towards the enterprise.
Who? Corporate giant. Out of curiosity.
No, I don't know any corporate giant. You can't get with Kofi.
All right.
I've warned you.
But that's what you do to people here now. You ask them these questions, one-worded questions, and you corner them.
You can't try.
All right, so Daily Trust has coverage of yesterday's interview on Arise TV with Malam Nasser El-Rufai. This is the headline they put to it. Tinubu, not National Assembly, dropped me as Minister El-Rufai.
Let me say, I'm a fan of two Northerners. I'm a fan of one. The first one is SLS. I like intelligent people. Whatever you might think of them, El-Rufai is super intelligent. And I enjoyed, to my heart's delight, his thoughts yesterday. What I could make out from this interview, of course, he said it was Tinubu that truncated his becoming a minister, and I agree with him. What I think is that he's out of the APC. I have a funny feeling that a new party is likely to emerge. I have a feeling that as we move on towards 2027, the APC has to be very, very careful. They might find themselves with a very big crack. And also, there is a possibility that El-Rufai himself might want to run for president. At least, I said something, Kofi. If I just want one day to have a Nigerian leader who can stand up anywhere in the world and talk for 15 minutes intelligently, with pride, and bring pride back to this country.
Is that El-Rufai?
No, I'm just saying that is my... El-Rufai is very intelligent. You might have other faults with him. I agree. But he is very, very intelligent and he knows his onions. You have to get the same thing for people like Sanusi. Nigeria still hasn't presented its fifth 11. We take public office for granted. We forget that one of the biggest ingredients, for leadership is intelligence. Okay, and a national spirit. And when I heard this guy speak yesterday, I'm his fan. I've always been a fan of El-Rufai since he was the minister of FCT. He has his faults. You can say is this, is that, and this. But one of the first ingredients for me is not devious intelligence, but well exposed. What was it? Time is up. Okay.
Let's quickly look at the news tidbits before we go. We have 1 minute.
We have 1 minute. You would have let me give this 1 minute to everyone.
It's
okay. Even opening the paper itself is taking 1 minute. Man arrested for beating girlfriend to death. Oh my God. Police hunt killers of Katsina undergraduates. Let me quickly rush to the Lagos State stories. Lagos State government launches evidence portal for sexual violence victims. Okay, we'll get them in the studio to explain that pretty soon. Loma to acquire 100 CNG machines to compact waste. That's nice to know. Kai removes Santis, ejects illegal occupants. That should be an ongoing exercise in Lagos. Let me go.
All right, we'll have you by 9 o'clock, and of course, we'll continue the conversation. So we're doing 8 to 9 is IBB's book, 9 to 10 is IBB's book.
Oh, really?
Yes. We're having Max Uku from APCA, national chairman.
Don't call in at 8 to 9. Call in at 9 to 10.
Without choice, there's no loyalty.
We remain loyal to bringing you the details and stories around the world.
The boys in that environment were just shooting up, pursuing there.
Shooting?
I thought that place in a whisker.
AP, PDP, they are comedians.
I'm not going to come to this platform to campaign for anybody. I will not stand there to cause a problem.
Only on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Let's talk.
It's 8 o'clock.